Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we bring you breaking news of a military operation that has shaken the waters of the Pacific in what officials are calling one of the fastest and most decisive naval missions in recent history. US Navy forces launched a direct strike against Mexico's most powerful cartel in an engagement that lasted just 90 minutes. This was not a warning, this was a full-scale response to a cartel fleet that threatened vital shipping lanes and international security. The scale of what happened out at sea is beyond anything seen in years. It began just after midnight when intelligence sources confirmed the movement of multiple cartel vessels leaving the Mexican coast. They were heavily armed, carrying high-powered weapons and smuggling equipment worth millions of dollars. These were not fishing boats, these were fast attack vessels modified for combat with reinforced hulls, radar systems and mounted weapons. The cartel believed they could intimidate anyone who dared to interfere, but they were not expecting the US Navy to respond with such speed and power. The first radar detection came from a Navy destroyer stationed in international waters monitoring maritime traffic. As soon as the cartel fleet appeared, alerts spread through the fleet command. Ships, aircraft and coastal radar installations began tracking their every movement. Within minutes the US Navy activated a rapid response task force consisting of surface ships, helicopters and unmanned aerial systems moving silently through the night toward the cartel vessels. As the night sky hung heavy with low clouds, the destroyers powered forward, their decks lit with red alert lights. The wind howled over the waves, but the men and women on board moved with calm precision. This was not their first mission. They knew exactly what to do. Orders were given, positions were locked and every weapon was armed and ready. The cartel fleet was approaching fast, roughly 30 heavily armed boats moving in formation as if preparing for a standoff. When the two forces finally came into range, the silence of the night shattered. The first warning transmission was ignored by the cartel and then the engagement began. The US Navy opened with precision strikes targeting the lead cartel boats. The night lit up with the glow of explosions, tracer fire streaking across the water. The ocean boiled with the impact. Waves shook the smaller boats as the cartel tried to return fire, but their weapons were no match for the sheer firepower of the destroyer and supporting aircraft. Helicopters roared in from above, casting powerful spotlights onto the water, illuminating the chaos below. Drones hovered overhead, feeding real-time video to command centers, ensuring every move was calculated. The cartel attempted evasive maneuvers, splitting into smaller groups trying to outflank the Navy ships, but it was too late. The US Navy had already surrounded them with coordinated precision attack patterns, cutting off every escape route. The battle was relentless, fast and one-sided. Explosions tore through the night as one cartel boat after another was hit. Some sank, immediately disappearing beneath the waves. Others burst into flames, sending plumes of thick black smoke into the air. The heat from the burning vessels mixed with the ocean spray, creating a surreal and terrifying scene. The Navy ships moved methodically, picking off targets one by one, maintaining formation and control. The cartel tried to launch rockets toward the destroyer, but advanced defense systems intercepted everything before it came close. Reports from on board the Navy vessels describe the engagement as controlled and precise, a demonstration of overwhelming force. The cartel fleet fought back desperately, but within minutes their formation began to collapse. Boats veered out of control, men jumped into the dark sea as flames consumed their decks. The water was lit by fire and explosions reflected off the waves, and still the Navy pressed forward, pushing the cartel line back toward the coast where they had nowhere left to run. In the middle of the chaos, as special forces units deployed from helicopters fast roping down onto a seized cartel command boat, heavily armed, they moved quickly, securing the deck, taking key members of the cartel alive. These individuals were believed to be senior figures responsible for major smuggling routes across the Pacific. Their capture was a critical blow to the organization while the rest of the fleet burned around them. As the battle raged, the sea itself became a battlefield. Waves crashed against flaming wreckage, debris scattered everywhere, searchlights cut through the smoke and darkness. Soldiers shouted orders through radios while control rooms on board Navy ships coordinated every strike, every movement. Nothing was left to chance. This was a mission designed to end quickly and decisively, and it did not take long for the cartel fleet to be reduced to wreckage. Within an hour the majority of the cartel boats were destroyed or sinking, only a few remained drifting and surrounded by Navy vessels. Helicopters circled overhead as frogmen and boarding teams moved in to secure survivors and evidence. By this point the cartel fighters had no will to continue. Many raised their hands, surrendering to the overwhelming force around them. They had gone into the night believing they could outfight a Navy destroyer and its task force. They were wrong. As the last pockets of resistance ended, the scale of the destruction was clear. The water was littered with burning debris, shattered boats, and the glow of fire against the black ocean. The Navy immediately switched from combat to control mode, deploying rescue teams to pull survivors from the water, securing prisoners and searching for intelligence materials left behind: computers, satellite phones, maps, anything that could provide leads to other cartel operations across the region. This battle was not just another confrontation at sea. This was a direct strike at the operational heart of one of Mexico's most powerful criminal organizations. For years this cartel had used the ocean to move drugs, weapons and contraband across international waters, challenging authorities and evading capture. They operated fast boats, submarines and heavily armed convoys, believing they were untouchable, but on this night their power shattered under the weight of superior force and flawless execution. Among the seized vessels was a massive cartel command ship. Unlike the smaller attack boats, this one was packed with advanced communications systems, fuel reserves and weapons caches. It was the floating headquarters of the operation, and when US forces stormed it they found an arsenal large enough to supply a small army, stacks of weapons, boxes of ammunition, encrypted communication devices and satellite trackers used to evade detection during smuggling runs. The interrogation of captured cartel members began almost immediately. Intelligence officers worked through the night extracting key information about safe houses, routes and cartel leadership networks. This information is expected to lead to further raids and arrests in multiple countries. This was not just a tactical win, it was a strategic breakthrough in the broader war against organized crime at sea. Back on the decks of the Navy destroyer, the crew stood under the faint light of dawn as the last fires burned in the distance, smoke rising into the air like a warning to anyone who might challenge them next. The sea was calm again, but the memory of the 90-minute battle would not fade easily. The crew knew they had just participated in something historic, a decisive engagement that would be studied by military strategists for years to come. By sunrise, news of the battle had already spread across the globe, major networks reporting on the scale of the operation, the precision of the strike and the speed with which the cartel fleet was wiped out in less than 2 hours. Security analysts called it a devastating blow to cartel logistics and a demonstration of the unmatched power of the US Navy. World leaders praised the operation, highlighting it as a turning point in maritime security and anti-cartel operations. The captured cartel commanders are expected to face trial on multiple charges, including piracy, trafficking and terrorism-related offenses. International agencies are already coordinating with the United States to dismantle the remaining networks linked to this organization. Billions of dollars in illegal trade are now disrupted, and with the loss of their fleet the cartel has lost a critical supply chain that took years to build. But beyond the headlines and the figures, it is the precision and speed of this operation that stands out. There were no prolonged firefights, no chaotic standoffs, no drawn-out negotiations. The US Navy moved in, struck hard and ended the threat in under 90 minutes. Every part of the operation, from radar tracking to missile strikes to boarding actions, was executed with precision, leaving the cartel with no chance to recover or retaliate. The ocean where the battle took place is now under tight surveillance. Naval forces remain in the area, ensuring no remaining cartel elements attempt to regroup. Divers and recovery teams are collecting evidence from the wreckage, ensuring nothing of value escapes the investigation. Experts believe that this single engagement will have long-term effects on criminal organizations operating at sea, sending a clear message that no cartel fleet is beyond the reach of US forces. Many who witnessed the aftermath described the scene as something out of a war zone: wrecked boats, still smoking bodies of surrendered fighters being taken into custody, evidence being piled onto naval decks, the faces of sailors weary but proud of what they accomplished. This was not a random skirmish, this was the destruction of a major criminal fleet and the end of an era for one of the most dangerous cartels in the hemisphere. As the day went on, more details emerged about how the Navy tracked and intercepted the cartel. The intelligence trail had begun weeks earlier when satellite imagery revealed suspicious movements of boats near the Mexican coast. Unmanned drones followed their path, confirming the buildup of a large fleet. The Navy waited for the moment when the cartel moved into open waters away from civilian traffic to strike. The result was overwhelming victory without collateral damage. By the time the sun was fully up, the last cartel boat had been secured. The remaining fighters were being transported under heavy guard, and the Navy had complete control of the area. What was once a powerful cartel fleet was now nothing more than twisted metal and burning wreckage floating in the calm sea. The message to other criminal networks was loud and clear: the ocean is not a safe haven, and no fleet, no matter how large, can stand against a coordinated naval response. This operation will likely be remembered as one of the most decisive maritime victories in modern history, not only because of the size of the enemy fleet but because of the speed and precision of the strike. A 90-minute battle that crushed an empire built on fear and violence, leaving nothing but ruins behind. It is a reminder of how quickly power can collapse when it faces overwhelming force and determination.